run for Mark will be critical, and we'll just see how critical as they go into a very important transition. That's coming up when we return to the first round of St George Formula One. And probably Mark won't get a heck of a lot more out of this other than just a clean transition and a little bit of a break on the run.
Yeah, the guys behind aren't silly. Chris McCormick started to up the pace a bit, as did Brad Bevan. They know that Mark Lees is an exceptional runner, so they're not going to let him get away, and you can bet as they come into transition it'll be fairly close. Mark Field's been watching it down there, and it really has been quite tactical, Mark.
Yeah, it certainly is. Miles Stewart has just sat in the top 5 the whole way. Greg Bennett, though, has moved up. He was around about 20th going into the start of the cycling. He's moved up because he likes to usually be off the front as they head into transition. Chris McCormack's been there the whole time, as has Chris Hill and Brad Bevan. So this is where the experience of the guys who have been competing over the last, this is our 6th year, the last 5 years into this series, where it really shows. And surprisingly, the pace has really hotted up now, and they look as though they're making a charge to try and chase down Mark Lees, and it's Brad Bevan at the front who's pulling the pack with Courtney Atkinson.
Well, he must be feeling good, Brad.
The effect on the punch has as the punch comes.
Well, what amazes me is that Mark Lees would expend this much energy. I know the pace hasn't been real high, but to stay out in front virtually the whole time and to not extend his lead, you know, really to any great amount, you've got to sort of wonder whether that's tactically a clever move. I don't think it is.
Well, as this bike leg builds to a climax, let's take a quick look at part of the community events that are involved in the St George Formula One this year. The New Balance Fun Run should be very special. We had one this morning at 7 o'clock. The next one will be at Novotel Twin Waters Resort. Marvellous venue up there at Maroochydore on the Queensland coastline. That's the phone number to enter. And we know that Mark Fuel was one of the many participants here at Glenelg early this morning. And why don't we hear from Miles Stewart right now? A little tri-tip.
One of the most important part about the triathlon is the running shoes. These ones are light racing flats. Basically got an upper mesh sole, makes them very, very light. Not good for running long distances in, but anything up to 10 kilometres, these are a really fast shoe. Also come with elastic laces, which means we can get into them really fast as far as the transitions go. These ones are more of a training shoe. A lot heavier, a lot firmer. Got a lot bigger sole here, which means a lot more cushioning. Much better for running long distances for protection. They also have a roll bar system throughout here, which basically stops someone like me who pronates quite a lot. These are ones you want if you're going to be doing long training miles.
Miles talking about miles, and check it out if you want to get involved in the New Balance Fun Run that's part of the St George Formula One series. Mark Lee's still out there. They haven't been able to reel him in yet, and I hope he's feeling comfortable because he has a long way to go.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned before, I just think it's tactically not a real good move. He is upping the pace now, and maybe he's extending slightly, but purely down in transition. You've got to wonder, with Mark Lees being in such good form, why he would expend so much energy off the front.
Well, the reason is that I think traditionally he doesn't swim well going in off a run, and perhaps he's thought about when he raced in the Formula One in previous years. He has been out with an injury for 18 months, and maybe he's thought the only way I'm going to be with the top guys going into that final run is if I have a lead going to the swim. So it's probably smart racing, and I think he feels comfortable. He raced very well down at Devonport last weekend. He was second. He beat Andrew Johns down there. But another dark horse here, and we haven't seen him before, Craig Watson from New Zealand is up in the top 10, and he's the New Zealand champion and a very good runner.
Yeah, well, Leesy finished 12th in round 4 back in 1997. That was an enduro round, and as you pointed out, Mark Field, he has had difficulty coming to grips with that 6-leg triathlon format as we see here in the enduro. Craig Watson, well, he's just one of the many guys who it's very difficult to work out whether he's going to be a factor or not. Won the French Grand Prix event at Vesoul and Laval. He won the New Zealand half Ironman. He tends to prefer the longer races. He was 4th on the French Iron Tour, though, Mark Dragon, which is a series of shorter events. Yeah,
consistent all round, really. Hard to pick the form, but there's a pack of 20 guys after Mark Lees. There's only two of the guys have been dropped off. Bryce Quirk and Marcus Keller from Switzerland have dropped off the main pack. So it's Mark Lees out in front. He has extended his lead a little more, pulled up a few more seconds. He's probably anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds back to the chasing pack now.
One other thing about Craig Watson too, Mark Fuel, he's based himself on the Gold Coast, where he's been training with Andrew Noble, who is not in the series this year, but he's one of the series veterans who knows a lot about how to tackle these events, and perhaps Craig has picked up a few tips from Andy.
Yeah, I'd say Andy was giving him a few hints, so I'd expect him to run well. But Mark Lees has really changed the nature of this first bike leg. Quite often they're content to cruise around and just look at each other, see where they're at and wait for that first run. That's the way it's panned out every year. This year, Mark Lees going off the front like this has meant that the pace on the bike as a whole has come up, and that's going to hurt everybody on the run. So it could come from anywhere. And Mark Lees now has opened up a lead of over 150 metres. He has really gone for it.
That's most unusual for this kind of event. The pack normally doesn't let that happen. Courtney Atkinson was taking a turn in front of that pack when I last checked, but there's the gap there. That's Lees, of course, on his own, going away from you, and this is the pack as we focus in. This is most unusual, Mark Dragon. Normally these breaks don't last too long at all.
No, they don't. And the reason why this one has is because the pack's not chasing real hard. They all seem to be looking over each other's shoulder to see what the other guys are doing. So Bevan's looking at Johns is looking at McCormack, etc., etc. They're all just sitting there looking, and it gives Lees the opportunity, as we see on our screen here, the opportunity to actually extend his lead, which he has done. In the last 2 laps, he really has pulled some time out.
He had a little look around. Perhaps even he is surprised at how well he's gone. And you might have noticed Alien on the back of the costumes of Levi Maxwell. A lot of the guys here, if you do happen to catch their names on the back of their costumes, are using their nicknames. Chris McCormack, for example, has Macca on the back of his, and Alien is Levi's nickname, so just so you won't be too confused there. That's the placings at the moment, but beyond that number 1 there, Mark Lees, it doesn't mean a heck of a lot, because those guys like Quirk, Johns and Atkinson are rotating the lead on that big pack.
Well, it's good to see some aggression here from Mark Lees, even though tactically I'm not sure it's the best move, but certainly has been aggressive, and you've got to admire that. It's good that the bunch has been shaken up a little bit and we're not just seeing a procession of everybody waiting for the run.
Yes, it will sort them out, there's no doubt. It's put a little bit of pressure on. He's come back from Anzac Highway and onto Collie Terrace, and then the next mission is to get onto Jetty Road and start thinking about a clean transition and what should also be a very testing run.
It will be, and the pace will be really on, because everybody knows you must get into the water for that second swim. It's very important to be up with the good swimmers, the lead pack going into the swim. Mark Fuel's down in transition, not far away from you, Mark. As Mark Lees starts to get his feet out of his shoes, he's allowed to do that, loosen the straps, get his feet ready, and he'll dismount, leaving his shoes on the bike.
Well, this gives him a very clean run into transition. You'll see when the main pack has caught up some ground. They are really flying now, and Brad Bevan is the one who's pulling the front. Those other guys are going to have a much harder time of it. Mark Lees is more relaxed, being able to put on his shoes, and a clean run straight out of transition. As Brad Bevan comes in, he's first off the bike. Andrew Johns is there. Chris Hill, great ride from him. Miles Stewart, as always, is well placed. Courtney Atkinson, Greg Bennett, Jan Rahula, and Peter Robertson there. Healy had the best transition, followed by Miles Stewart. Here comes Chippy Slater, Courtney Atkinson, Brad Bevan. Ben Sanson is still there, as is Jan Rahula, Matt Reed, Macca, they're all there. Tim Don is there, as is Craig Watson, and Lota Leader still there. So we have virtually everybody, apart from Mark Lees, bunched together, and I can tell you they are virtually sprinting out over that first 200 metres.
And that was an amazingly clean transition for everybody, considering the number of bodies that were in that narrow area at one time, Mark Dragon.
Oh, the charge of the Light Brigade, wasn't it? We saw them all virtually coming out at the one time. I noticed Peter Robertson was a ways back. Brad Bevan was up there. So was Miles Stewart, ever present. He's leading the chase back right now. Chris Hill on his hammer. That's Courtney Atkinson going round behind him. Brad Bevan, Chris McCormack, Greg Bennett. They're all there. Jan Rahula's having a very good race too, as a matter of fact, in the number 11 and a distinctive light-coloured top. But there's Mark Lees. Did debut in this series with much longer hair than that, but times have changed, and so has Mark's hairdo. Chris Hill running very strongly in third place. Rahula's up there with Chippy Slater. They've already outrun the likes of Ben Sanson. That second pack has broken away, and I think if that second pack does not catch up with the
with the pack that contains Hill and Miles Stewart and Brad Bevan. They're going to struggle.
Well, they will. They're not running real fast. But Mark Field's down there in transition. They're coming round past you now, Mark.
They certainly are, and Miles Stewart looks very comfortable. Mark Lees actually is looking like he's running smoothly. Brad Bevan now is about to come up and run alongside Miles Stewart. Chris Hill looks good, as does Craig Watson. But surprising, Chippy Slater, they're having a great race there with the alien Levi Maxwell, and Peter Robertson now making a charge. And the surprise is that Tim Don and Greg Bennett have slipped to the back of that field.
The unforgettable Peter Robertson. He staged some of the most dramatic finishes of the last series, so keep an eye out for him coming from a long way back. There's a lot left to happen in this race. We hope you'll stay with us.